believe it would be the Mickey Mouse Club, Dean.
Of course.
There was this show on the Disney Channel, and it was like this variety show for children. And I really enjoyed all of the different things that those Mouseketeers did. Literally, probably Clueless was probably my favorite thing about the 90s, or just all of the R&B music.
Oh, really?
Probably, yeah.
What are some of your favorite R&B music of the 1990s?
Boyz II Men.
And I just saw them a couple days ago.
Hands down. Anytime Joey Fatone is performing with Boyz II Men, I'm so jelly. I'm just like, why are you there and I'm not? Like, I just, give me a call. I love Boyz II Men. I love Brian McKnight. I love Mariah Carey. Those are my tops. You know, Whitney Houston, of course. So yeah, 90s all the way with their fantastic music. And it was cool that we got to cover so much of it on the Mickey Mouse Club, too.
You know, I have to say, New Kids. I mean, I know New Kids were a little bit 80s, like leading into the 90s, but that was the first time I sort of remember being really jazzed about a boy band and about musicians and cute guys. And so when I think of the 90s, I think of hanging tough.
Oh, yeah.
I still got the moves.
I was a big Bobby Brown fan, so probably all of his music from the 90s.
Love Bobby Brown. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, since you brought that up, I mean, other than hanging out with Tracy Spencer, riding on Bobby Brown's tour bus. Hey, every group has to have a Bobby Brown. Bobby, I'm holding it down in your honor.
Absolutely. And you, Jo Marie?
I think thinking back on it now, I was in my 40s, my early 40s. My favorite 90s moment was the fact that I was able to do something special for my family, because I was in a position of finance where I could buy my mom a new house and I could send some kids to school, and I didn't have to go to bed worrying about where my next meal was coming from. For me, it was to be able to thank God that He blessed a poor little girl out of Opelika, Florida, you know, to be able to do some of the things that I really wanted to do. That was my favorite moment, to be able to thank God for blessing me to be able to do some of the things I needed to do and a lot of things I wanted to do. That's my favorite.
I was just talking to someone about this. It was that very beginning, early 90s hip-hop era of Guy with Teddy Riley.
Yes,
when
the New Jack Swing.
Yeah, the New Jack Swing. When Hammer first came out with Pump It Up, and watching BET, getting that styling down, hearing hip hop of that era, when I hear that stuff, it takes me right back to that time. And then getting the dance moves that went along with that music. Yeah. There was the movement and dance that was happening with hip hop at that time that was just so fun and so great. And there I was at about 12. So it was this perfect timing of maturing, preteen, starting to get, really into dance. That hip hop was coming into play. So that era of the 90s to me is so passionate, and it's just a piece of my upbringing. I'll just never forget it. And when I hear those songs, it brings me right back. Heavy D, We Got Our Own Thing, all that stuff. And then I remember seeing the videos, learning the moves, and then coming back to Orlando, like we'd be on break, or and then coming back to Orlando, and then showing our choreographer, and then us adding it into the choreography on the show, man.
And probably the fashion. I mean, it was at that time in our lives when we were teenagers where you're trying to figure out who you are in your life. You know, you're trying to experiment with everything, and we were in this safe environment where we could literally just kind of experiment and do whatever we wanted to. I mean, I remember wearing, I was like, okay, the new Jordans had come out back then. That was a big deal. I'm like, I want one in each color. I was wearing a black shoe and a white shoe, forever, for a long time on the Mickey Mouse Club. A lot of people know me from my crazy hair, which I don't have as much of anymore, but but back then it was nuts, and I got so much fan mail and response from that. It just the styles, I think, were so much fun to kind of go through at a perfect time in our life.
I think my first response would be just the simplicity of life. When you're that age. Anyway, what I remember, because now being a mom,
I hear.
Being a mom of teenager and a preteen, there was just a lot less to worry about. Different kinds of worries. I mean, you have the worries of being a teenager, and I guess, trying to fit in and trying to keep up with all of the fashion and the lingo and the whatever, that kind of thing, the clicks and whatnot. But really, in retrospect, life was so simpler back then.
Yes.
And the cares were very, very few.
Oh, yes.
And I miss that we really, truly were just being kids. And I want that for my kids. I want my kids not to grow up too fast.
Right.
I want them to enjoy their childhood. Because and I remember also during that time, I wanted to grow up fast. I wanted to wear, grown up like outfits and things like that,
Yeah.
even though my body wasn't caught up yet. But now I'm like, no, slow down.
Yes.
Enjoy your youth. It goes by so quickly, and before you know it, you're buying hair dye and having to sit and when you used to like just be dancing all the time, like the running man is more like the walking man, and
the 90s were cool. It was, it was just, I think it was the end of innocence, sort of, before like social media kicked in, and before, things just got really divisive and weird, it was cool. It was interesting to see like genre kick in, music genres that emerged from the 90s, like the grunge movement up in Seattle, and the hip hop East and West Coast kind of thing emerging, and because 80s music was 80s. It's a genre. It's the only genre I think the only decade that is a genre unto itself. Every other genre, there was all these different types of music within that decade. And in the 90s, there was just all of a sudden all these new types of music emerging, and watching all of us as diverse as we were, kind of find our lanes and our interests and share things with each other. It was a really cool, exciting time.
Favorite
Slap
memory?
bracelets.
The slap bracelets. Why the slap bracelets?
Why? Because they were so much fun. You just go slap, and then they were on.
Yep.
And then I don't
And
think they have
painful.
them and Tamagotchis.
Yes, indeed. The Tamagotchis. I can't believe it's been years since I played with Tamagotchi.
Man, I'm just throwing out what I can remember. That and Crystal Pepsi.
Oh, yeah.
Was that 80s? I don't know.
No, that
might
was
have been.
90s, and they brought it back not too long ago.
Yucky.
Yeah, bad
No good.
choices all around.
How about you, Ori Beth? What's your favorite thing?
My favorite memory is I didn't know until now, but it's the lack of social media.
Oh, yeah. People, we forgot there was a world without social media,
I think about that back then, like, oh, that was so nice.